Captain Olivia Winters stared at the main screen on the bridge of the USS Defiant. The red emergency lights cast an eerie glow on her tired face. She had not slept in nearly 30 hours. Outside the ship's reinforced viewports, the remains of Earth's defense fleet drifted silently in space. What had once been humanity's greatest armada was now nothing but twisted metal and floating bodies. The surprise attack by the Krell Dominion had been swift and merciless. "Status report," Olivia said, her voice steady despite the chaos of the last few hours. Lieutenant Daniel Harris looked up from his tactical station. His eyes were bloodshot, but his hands moved quickly over the controls. 57 Krell warships have entered Earth orbit, Captain. Long-range scanners show more arriving every hour. Olivia nodded. The situation was grim. The Defiant wasn't even supposed to be here. They had been in the asteroid belt testing the ship's new systems when the attack began. The Defiant was a prototype vessel equipped with experimental technology that had never been used in actual combat. Now it was the only thing standing between Earth and complete destruction. "What about our systems?" she asked, turning to the engineering station. Chief Engineer Samuel Green shook his head. "The quantum resonance drive is stable for now, but we're running low on coolant. If we push it too hard, we risk a complete meltdown." The Defiant had been rushed into service when intelligence suggested the Krell might be planning something. But no one had expected an attack of this magnitude. The ship's main weapon, the quantum resonance drive, was still largely theoretical. It was meant to be a propulsion system, not a weapon. Communications Officer Maria Lopez removed her headset and turned to face the captain. "I've intercepted transmissions from the planet, Captain. The Krell have issued an ultimatum. They're demanding Earth surrender within 24 hours. The bridge fell silent. 24 hours wasn't much time, but it was something. At least. The Krell weren't simply bombarding the planet from orbit. "What do they want?" asked Science Officer Eric Chun, looking up from his station. Maria shook her head. "They're not saying, just surrender or be destroyed." Olivia walked to the center of the bridge, thinking. The Defiant was powerful, but not powerful enough to take on 57 Krell warships. They needed an advantage, something the Krell wouldn't expect. "Sam," she said, turning to her chief engineer, "you mentioned once that the quantum resonance drive could be modified to create some kind of disruptive field. Could that work against Krell ships?" Samuel's eyes widened. "In theory, yes. But Captain, modifying the drive for that purpose would be incredibly dangerous. We could end up destroying ourselves in the process." "It's better than doing nothing," Olivia replied. "Start working on it immediately." As Samuel left the bridge to begin the modifications, Eric called out from his science station. "Captain, I'm noticing something strange about the Krell fleet." "Formation?" Olivia moved to his side. "What is it?" Eric pointed to his screen. "Look at this pattern. Their ships move in perfect synchronization, almost as if they're being controlled by a central command," Olivia finished for him. "Is that possible?" Eric nodded slowly. "It would explain their perfect coordination during the attack. If they're using some kind of network system, there must be a command ship controlling the others. Can we identify it?" Olivia asked. "Maybe," Eric replied. "But we'd need to get closer to analyze their communication patterns, much closer." Olivia returned to her command chair and pressed a button on the armrest. "All senior officers to the briefing room in 5 minutes." In the briefing room, the mood was tense but focused. Olivia looked at each of her officers in turn. They were the best the Earth Defense Force had to offer, handpicked for this experimental mission. Now they were Earth's last hope. "We have 24 hours before the Krell carry out their threat," she began. "We're going to use that time to find a way to stop them. With one ship?" Lieutenant Harris asked. His tone wasn't challenging, just realistic. "One ship is all we have," Olivia replied. "And this isn't just any ship. The Defiant has technologies the Krell know nothing about." She turned to the wall screen, which displayed the Krell fleet orbiting Earth. "Eric has discovered something interesting about their formation. He believes they're using a networked command structure." Eric stood and pointed to the display. "These patterns suggest their ships aren't operating independently. They're receiving commands from a central source. If we can disrupt that source, we might be able to throw their entire fleet into chaos, Olivia finished. Samuel spoke up next. I've been thinking about the quantum resonance drive. If I modify it to create a targeted pulse, we might be able to disrupt their command network. But there's a catch. There always is, Olivia said with a grim smile. We'd need to get extremely close to what we think is their command ship, Samuel explained. And the pulse would affect our systems, too. We'd be dead in space for several minutes afterward. Security Chief Lava Bennett, who had been quietly listening, leaned forward. I might have something that could help. All eyes turned to her. When I was working in intelligence, I came across classified records of a previous encounter with Krell scouts. It was about 20 years ago, kept quiet to prevent panic. Go on, Olivia urged. The records contained information about Krell ship vulnerabilities. Specifically, their sensor systems have a blind spot directly above their command centers. If we approach from that vector, we might get closer before being detected. Navigator Paul Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. I could plot a course through the debris field of our destroyed ships. It's grim, but it would provide additional cover from their sensors. Olivia considered all the information. It was a long shot, but they had no other options. All right, here's the plan. We'll use the debris field for cover and approach what we believe to be their command ship. Once we're close enough, we'll analyze their communication patterns to confirm our theory. If we're right, we'll modify the quantum resonance drive to disrupt their network. And if we're wrong, Maria asked quietly. Then at least we tried, Olivia replied. I won't force anyone to participate in this mission. It's likely a one-way trip. If anyone wants to take one of the escape pods to Earth, now's the time. The room was silent. Not a single officer moved. Finally, Paul spoke. We're with you, Captain, all the way. Olivia felt a surge of pride for her crew. Then let's get to work. We have less than 24 hours to save Earth. As they returned to the bridge, Olivia paused to look at the main screen once more. The Krell Armada surrounded Earth like a swarm of deadly insects. Somewhere among those ships was their weakness, and the Defiant was going to find it. Navigator, set course for the debris field, she ordered. Keep our power signature as low as possible. Course set, Captain, Paul replied. Tactical, passive scans only. We don't want to announce our presence. Understood, Captain? Daniel acknowledged. Olivia took her seat in the command chair and gazed at the stars beyond the view screen. The Krell think they've won, she said quietly. Let's prove them wrong. The USS Defiant slipped silently away from its hiding place and moved toward the debris field, carrying with it the last hopes of humanity. The USS Defiant drifted silently through the field of debris that had once been Earth's proud defense fleet. Captain Olivia Winters watched from the bridge as the ship navigated between the twisted remains of human vessels. The sight filled her with both sadness and determination. These ships had fallen defending Earth, and now the Defiant carried their mission forward. Maintain minimal power output, Olivia ordered quietly. The Krell don't know about us yet, and I want to keep it that way. Yes, Captain, Navigator Paul Rodriguez replied. His hands moved carefully over the controls, guiding the ship through the debris with remarkable precision. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Samuel Green worked frantically on modifying the quantum resonance drive. The experimental technology had never been designed as a weapon, but Samuel believed it could be adapted to disrupt the Krell command network. The work was dangerous and delicate. One wrong calculation could cause the drive to overload, destroying the Defiant and everyone aboard. Hand me that molecular calibrator, Samuel said to one of his engineers. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he adjusted the quantum matrix. We need to alter the resonance frequency to match what we think is the Krell communication bandwidth. On the bridge, Science Officer Eric Chun studied the Krell fleet with the ship's passive sensors. The alien vessels maintained their perfect formation around Earth, a testament to their rigid military discipline. Their ships were unlike anything humans had built, organic-looking vessels with hulls that seemed to pulse with life. I'm detecting Unusual energy signatures from the central ship, Eric reported. It's definitely transmitting something to the other vessels in the fleet. Lieutenant Daniel Harris looked up from the tactical station. Can we jam it? Not with conventional methods, Eric replied. Their technology is too advanced. But if Samuel's modifications work, we might be able to disrupt it at the quantum level. Olivia nodded. The plan was taking shape, but they needed more information. How close do we need to get for a detailed scan of their command ship? Too close for comfort, Eric admitted. At least within 5,000 kilometers. Any farther? And our passive sensors won't pick up the quantum fluctuations in their network. That's practically suicide, Security Chief Lavra Bennett said from her station. Their weapons range is at least twice that. We don't have a choice, Olivia replied. Paul, can you get us that close without being detected? Navigator Rodriguez considered the question. If we time it right, we could use one of the larger debris fields as cover. Approach from behind, keep the wreckage between us and their sensors until the last possible moment. Communications Officer Maria Lopez suddenly straightened in her chair. Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from Earth. The Krell are broadcasting their ultimatum to all major population centers. They're demanding not just surrender, but complete submission. They want Earth to become a resource colony for their empire. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Humans would become slaves in their own home, mining resources. For alien masters until the planet was stripped bare. The Krell had done this to other worlds across the galaxy, leaving behind only barren husks. That's not going to happen, Olivia said firmly. Not while we have anything to say about it. She tapped her console. Samuel, what's your progress on the drive modifications? Samuel's voice came through the speaker, strained but confident. We're getting there, Captain. The quantum resonance drive can be reconfigured to emit a pulse that should disrupt their network, but there's a catch. There always is, Olivia said with a grim smile. The pulse will affect our systems too, Samuel explained. We'll lose power. For approximately 3 minutes after activation. Life support will switch to emergency backup, but we'll be dead in space. If the Krell recover quickly enough, they could destroy us before our systems come back online. Olivia considered this. New information. 3 minutes was an eternity in space combat. But if the pulse worked as intended, the Krell might be too disorganized to mount an effective counterattack. We'll just have to make sure they're too confused to fight back, she said. Continue your work, Samuel. I want that pulse ready in 2 hours. As Samuel returned to his tasks, Lovar approached Olivia with a datapad. Captain, I've been analyzing the classified records about previous Krell encounters. There's something interesting here. Olivia took the pad and studied the information. Their ships are partially biological? Lavra nodded. According to these records, Krell vessels incorporate living tissue in their construction. It gives them certain advantages in self-repair and adaptation, but it also makes them vulnerable to specific energy frequencies. Frequencies like the ones our quantum resonance drive produces, Olivia realized. Exactly, Lavra confirmed. If Samuel can fine-tune the pulse to target those biological components, we might do more than just disrupt their network. We could actually damage their ships. This was the advantage they needed. Olivia immediately contacted the engine room. Samuel, I'm sending you some new information. The Krell ships have biological components that might be vulnerable to our quantum pulse. See if you can adjust the frequency to target them specifically. That changes everything, Samuel replied, his voice more optimistic. With this data, I can create a pulse that's much more effective against their systems while minimizing the impact on ours. We might reduce our downtime to less than a minute. For the first time since the Krell attack began, Olivia felt a glimmer of hope. They still faced overwhelming odds, but now they had a plan with a real chance of success. The Defiant continued its stealthy approach through the debris field. Olivia called her senior officers to the briefing room. They needed to coordinate their efforts perfectly if they were going to pull this off. Here's the situation, she began once everyone was seated. We have approximately 20 hours before the Krell deadline expires. In that time, we need to get close enough to their command ship to confirm our theory about their network, then deploy the quantum pulse to disrupt it. She displayed a tactical map on the wall screen. Paul has plotted a course that will bring US within scanning range while minimizing our exposure to their sensors. Eric will analyze their command structure, and Samuel will fine-tune the pulse based on his findings. What if they detect us before we're ready? Daniel asked. Then we move to Plan B, Olivia replied. We use conventional weapons to cause as much damage as possible and hope Earth's surface defenses can take advantage of the confusion. No one mentioned that Plan B was essentially a suicide mission with little hope of success. They didn't need to. Everyone on the bridge understood the stakes. Get some rest while you can, Olivia told her officers. The next 20 hours are going to determine the fate of our planet. I need everyone at their best. As the meeting ended and the officers returned to their stations, Olivia remained in the briefing room for a moment, staring at the tactical display. The Krell Armada surrounded Earth like a noose, tightening with each passing hour. But now, the tiny blip that represented the Defiant was moving steadily toward them, carrying with it a desperate plan and the last hope of humanity. We're not finished yet, Olivia whispered to herself. Not by a long shot. The USS Defiant moved silently through space like a ghost. Captain Olivia Winters had ordered all non-essential systems powered down to reduce their energy signature. The ship was running dark with only passive sensors active. Even life support was operating at minimal levels, making the air aboard the ship thin and cold. The crew wore extra layers as they worked at their stations, their breath visible in the chilly air. Olivia stood behind navigator Paul Rodriguez, watching as he guided the ship through a particularly dense section of debris. The remains of the Earth Defense Fleet provided excellent cover, but navigating through the twisted metal was dangerous work. One wrong move could send them crashing into a piece of wreckage, damaging the Defiant and revealing their position to the Krell. Steady, Paul, Olivia said quietly. Take it slow. Paul nodded, his hands moving with precise control over the navigation console. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold. We're approaching the optimal scanning position, Captain. 5 minutes at current speed. Olivia turned to Science Officer Eric Chun. Are the sensors ready? Yes, Captain, Eric replied, his fingers hovering over his console. I've modified them to focus specifically on the quantum frequencies the Krell seem to be using for their network. We should be able to confirm our theory once we're in range. The plan was simple but dangerous. They needed to get close enough to the Krell command ship to scan its communications with the rest of the fleet. If they could confirm that the ship was indeed controlling the others through a quantum network, they could use the modified resonance drive to disrupt that network. But getting close enough meant putting the Defiant at extreme risk of detection. All stations, prepare for silent running, Olivia ordered. No communications, no active scans. If you need to speak, whisper. The bridge fell silent as the Defiant slipped deeper into Krell-controlled space. Through the view screen, Olivia could see the massive alien vessels in the distance. Their organic-looking hulls pulsed with strange lights, giving them the appearance of giant living creatures rather than ships. At the center of the formation was their target, a vessel twice the size of the others that they believed to be the command ship. Range to target? Olivia whispered. 8,000 kilometers and closing, Paul replied just as quietly. We'll be in optimal scanning range in 3 minutes. Lieutenant Daniel Harris spoke up from the tactical station, his voice barely audible. Captain, I'm detecting movement among the Krell ships. A smaller vessel has broken formation and is heading in this direction. Olivia felt her heart rate increase. Have they detected us? I don't think so, Daniel replied after studying his readouts. Their course suggests a routine patrol, but they'll pass within 1,000 kilometers of our position. Hold course, Olivia decided after a moment's thought. If we change direction now, the energy spike might attract attention. Paul, reduce speed by 20%. Let's make ourselves as small a target as possible. The Defiant slowed almost imperceptibly as it continued its approach. On the view screen, they could see the Krell patrol ship moving across their path. It was smaller than the main warships, but still dwarfed the Defiant. Its hull rippled with the same strange organic patterns as the larger vessels. "It's scanning the debris field," Eric reported, watching his passive sensors. "Standard sweep pattern. If we stay behind this section of wreckage, we should remain undetected." The minutes stretched painfully as the Krell ship passed nearby. Olivia held her breath when it paused, seemingly interested in something in the debris. Had it detected an energy signature from the Defiant? Was it preparing to alert the main fleet? After what seemed like an eternity, the alien vessel resumed its patrol route and moved away from their position. "We're clear," Daniel whispered, the relief evident in his voice. "Resume previous speed," Olivia ordered. "Let's get this done before another patrol comes by." The Defiant continued its approach until they reached the optimal scanning position. Hidden behind the bulk of a destroyed Earth cruiser, they were now just 5,000 kilometers from the Krell command ship. "Begin scans," Olivia ordered. Eric activated the modified sensors, carefully tuning them to pick up the quantum signals without emitting detectable energy of their own. For several tense minutes, the bridge crew waited as data flowed into the ship's computers. "Captain, I'm getting something," Eric finally reported, excitement creeping into his whispered voice. "There's definitely a quantum entanglement network connecting the ships, and the command vessel is at the center of it. Can you identify the specific frequencies they're using?" Olivia asked. Eric nodded. "The primary control frequency is in the upper quantum band. It's incredibly complex, but there's a pattern to it. I'm sending the data to engineering now." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Samuel Green received the information and immediately incorporated it into his modifications of the quantum resonance drive. The new data confirmed his theories and allowed him to fine-tune the disruptive pulse they planned to use against the Krell. "This is perfect," Samuel said to his engineering team. "With these frequencies, we can target their network directly. The pulse will cause maximum disruption to their ships while minimizing the impact on our own systems." He contacted the bridge. "Captain, I've received the data from Eric. The modifications to the drive are complete. We can generate a pulse that will specifically target the Krell network frequencies." "How long will our systems be down after we activate it?" Olivia asked. "Based on the new data, I've been able to reduce the downtime to approximately 50 seconds, Samuel replied. "We'll lose main power, but emergency systems should remain online." 50 seconds was still a long time to be vulnerable in the middle of an enemy fleet, but it was better than the 3 minutes they had originally expected. Olivia considered their options. They had confirmed their theory about the Krell command structure and had a weapon that might disrupt it. Now they needed to get close enough to use it effectively. "Samuel, what's the effective range of the pulse?" she asked. "No more than 2,000 kilometers, Samuel replied. "And that's being optimistic. The closer we are to the command ship, the more effective it will be." 2,000 kilometers was dangerously close. At that range, they would be well within the Krell weapons envelope. If they were detected before they could activate the pulse, they wouldn't survive long enough to use it. "Daniel, what's the status of the Krell fleet?" Olivia asked. "Still in standard orbital formation," Daniel replied. "No indication they've detected us. But there's increased communication between the ships. Something's happening." Communications. Officer Maria Lopez confirmed this observation. "The ultimatum deadline is approaching, Captain. I think they're preparing to attack Earth. They were running out of time." Olivia made her decision. Plot a direct course to the command ship. We need to get within 2,000 kilometers. "That means leaving the cover of the debris field," Paul pointed out. "We'll be exposed." "I know," Olivia replied. "But we're out of options. We need to move now, before they begin their attack on Earth." She addressed the entire bridge crew. "This is it. We've confirmed our theory and we have a weapon that might work. Now we need to get close enough to use it. It's going to be dangerous and I can't guarantee we'll survive, but this is our only chance to save Earth." The crew exchanged glances, then turned to their captain with determined expressions. No one spoke, They didn't need to. Their resolve was clear. "Take us in, Paul," Olivia ordered. "Full stealth approach for as long as possible, the maximum speed when we're detected." The Defiant emerged from behind the debris field and set course for the heart of the Krell fleet. Earth's last hope was making its move. The USS Defiant broke from its hiding place among the debris and accelerated toward the Krell command ship. For the first few minutes, the ship remained undetected as it slipped through space on a direct course toward its target. Captain Olivia Winters stood at the center of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. The massive Krell command vessel grew larger as they approached, its organic hull pulsing with strange lights. 4,000 kilometers to target, Navigator Paul Rodriguez reported. His voice was steady, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the controls. "Still no sign they've detected us," Lieutenant Daniel Harris added from the tactical station. "Their patrol ships are maintaining standard routes," Olivia nodded. "Samuel, status on the quantum pulse?" Chief Engineer Samuel Green's voice came through the speaker. "Ready to activate on your command, Captain. The drive is stable, but I don't recommend running it for more than 10 seconds once we initiate the pulse. After that, the risk of overload increases dramatically." "Understood," Olivia replied. "We'll make those 10 seconds count." Science Officer Eric Chun looked up from his console with a worried expression. "Captain, I'm detecting increased activity in the Krell network. The command ship is transmitting new instructions to the fleet. Can you decode them?" Olivia asked. Eric shook his head. "Not completely, but the transmission patterns match what we'd expect to see for combat operations. I think they're preparing to attack Earth." They were running out of time. The Krell ultimatum would expire within the hour, and it seemed the aliens weren't waiting for the deadline to begin positioning their ships for the assault. 3,000 kilometers, Paul announced. "Captain," Daniel suddenly called out, his voice tense. "We've been spotted. Krell patrol ship at bearing 27 Mark IV is changing course to intercept." On the view screen, they could see a smaller Krell vessel breaking formation and turning toward them. Its organic hull rippled as weapons ports opened along its surface. "Time to target?" Olivia asked. "At current speed, we'll be within optimal pulse range in 3 minutes, Paul replied. "The patrol ship will intercept us in 2, Daniel added grimly. Olivia made her decision instantly. "Full power to engines. We need to reach the command ship before that patrol can stop us." The Defiant surged forward as Paul pushed the engines to maximum. The experimental ship had been built for speed, and it leaped ahead like a thoroughbred given its head. "The patrol ship is firing!" Daniel shouted. The bridge shook as energy weapons lanced past the Defiant, narrowly missing the hull. Daniel worked furiously at his tactical console, using the ship's limited defensive capabilities to throw off the Krell targeting systems. "Evasive pattern Delta," Olivia ordered. "But maintain our course toward the command ship." Paul's hands flew over the controls as he executed a series of complex maneuvers while still driving the ship toward its target. The Defiant rolled and juked, making itself a difficult target while continuing its approach. "More Krell ships are breaking formation," Daniel reported. "They're moving to intercept." On the view screen, Olivia could see multiple alien vessels now turning toward them. The element of surprise was gone. Now it was a race to reach the command ship before they were destroyed. 2,500 kilometers, Paul called out. "Almost in range." Another hit rocked the ship, this one finding its mark. Warning lights flashed across multiple consoles as systems reported damage. "Port shield generator is down. Security." Chief Lavra Bennett reported from her station. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Emergency bulkheads are holding. Reroute power from non-essential systems to the remaining shields," Olivia ordered. "We need to hold together just a little longer." The ship shuddered under another impact. Sparks flew from a console at the back of the bridge as circuits overloaded. 2,000 kilometers, Paul announced, his voice strained but triumphant. "We're in range." "All power to the quantum drive," Olivia commanded. "Samuel, initiate the pulse on my mark." In engineering, Samuel and his team made the final adjustments to the quantum resonance drive. The experimental system hummed with power, energy readings climbing toward dangerous levels as they pushed it beyond its design parameters. "Drive at maximum capacity," Samuel reported, ready to initiate pulse. On the bridge, Olivia took one last look at her crew. They had come this far against impossible odds. Now, everything depended on this moment. "Mark," she ordered. Samuel activated the quantum pulse. For a brief instant, nothing seemed to happen. Then a wave of energy unlike anything they had ever seen erupted from the Defiant, expanding outward in all directions. The wave passed through normal matter with no effect, but when it reached the Krell ships, the results were immediate and dramatic. The organic hulls of the alien vessels began to convulse violently. Lights flickered and died across their surfaces. The nearest patrol ship spun out of control, its weapons ports closing as its systems failed. Most importantly, the command ship at the center of the formation seemed to suffer the worst effects. Its hull rippled in what almost looked like pain, and the pulsing lights that covered its surface went dark. "It's working!" Eric exclaimed, watching the sensor readings. "The pulse is disrupting their quantum network. Their ships are losing coordination." As predicted, the Defiant systems also felt the effects of the pulse. The lights on the bridge dimmed as main power failed. Emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow over the crew as they watched the results of their attack on the viewscreen. 50 seconds to system restart, Samuel reported from engineering, his voice barely audible over the failing communication system. For those 50 seconds, the bridge crew could do nothing but watch and wait. The Defiant drifted helplessly in space, surrounded by Krell vessels that were themselves struggling to recover from the unexpected attack. "The command ship is still transmitting," Eric reported, reading from his emergency-powered console. "But the signal is fragmented. They're trying to re-establish control of the fleet." "When our systems come back online, target the command ship's transmission arrays," Olivia ordered. "If we can take those out, they won't be able to recover their network." Daniel nodded. "Weapons will be the first system I bring back online." The seconds ticked by with excruciating slowness. On the view screen, they could see the Krell ships beginning to recover. Some had already restored power and were turning toward the Defiant once more. 10 seconds to restart," Samuel announced. A Krell patrol ship was the first to recover completely. It turned toward the Defiant and began to power up its weapons. 5 seconds, Samuel counted down. The patrol ship fired. The energy beam lanced toward the helpless Defiant. "Systems online," Samuel shouted just as the beam was about to hit. Power flooded back into the ship's systems. Pole immediately threw the Defiant into a steep dive, narrowly avoiding the Krell weapon. The energy beam passed overhead, missing the ship by meters. "Weapons online," Daniel reported, targeting the command ship's transmission arrays. "Fire." "Everything we've got," Olivia ordered. The Defiant's weapons came to life, unleashing a barrage of energy at the still-recovering Krell command ship. The precisely targeted attack struck the alien vessel's communication systems, destroying the arrays that allowed it to control the fleet. "Direct hit," Daniel exclaimed. "Their primary transmission system is down." All around them, the Krell fleet fell into disarray. Without the coordinating influence of the command ship, the alien vessels began to move erratically. Some fired their weapons randomly, occasionally hitting their own ships. Others drifted out of formation, their systems apparently completely disabled by the quantum pulse. "It worked," Olivia said quietly, almost unable to believe what she was seeing. "Their network is down?" For the first time since the attack began, hope blossomed on the bridge of the USS Defiant. They had struck a critical blow against a superior enemy, but they weren't safe yet. Many Krell ships were still operational, and the command vessel itself was beginning to recover. "Get us out of here," Olivia ordered. "Maximum speed, we need to regroup and assess our next move." The Defiant turned away from the Krell Armada and accelerated to safety, leaving behind a fleet in chaos. Phase 1 of their desperate plan had succeeded. Now they needed to press their advantage before the Krell could recover. The USS Defiant raced away from the disorganized Krell fleet, putting distance between itself and the chaos it had created. The ship had suffered damage during the brief engagement, and warning lights flashed across multiple consoles on the bridge. Captain Olivia Winters stood at the center of it all, watching the tactical display as the Krell vessels struggled to regroup without their command network. "Damage report," Olivia ordered. Security Chief Lavra Bennett responded immediately. "Hull. Breaches on decks 3 and 5, sealed by emergency bulkheads. Port shield generator is offline. Weapon systems at 60% capacity. Life support stable but taxed." "What about the quantum resonance drive?" Olivia asked. Chief Engineer Samuel Green's voice came through the speaker, sounding exhausted but satisfied. "The drive held together, Captain. We can generate another pulse if needed, but I wouldn't recommend it. The system is showing signs of stress that could lead to a catastrophic failure." Olivia nodded. They had pushed the experimental technology to its limits and beyond. It was a miracle it had worked as well as it did. "Can we still use it for propulsion?" she asked. "Yes, but at reduced efficiency," Samuel replied. "We're running at about 70% of normal power. It would have to be enough." The Defiant had struck a significant blow against the Krell, but the fight was far from over. Many of the alien ships were already beginning to recover from the effects of the quantum pulse. Science. Officer Eric Chun looked up from his console. "Captain, I'm detecting communications from Earth. The planetary defense grid is coming back online." This was unexpected good news. Earth's defensive systems had been largely neutralized during the initial Krell attack, but it seemed the confusion in the alien fleet had given the planet's defenders time to make repairs. "Put it through," Olivia ordered. Communications Officer Maria Lopez worked at her station, then nodded. "Channel open." A voice crackled through the bridge speakers. "Unidentified human vessel, this is Earth Defense Command. We've detected your attack on the Krell fleet. What's your status?" "This is Captain Olivia Winters of the USS Defiant," Olivia replied. "We've managed to disrupt the Krell command network, but the effect is temporary. Many of their ships are already recovering." There was a pause before the response came. "Understood, Defiant. Our surface-to-space weapons are back online. We're preparing to target the Krell ships while they're vulnerable. Can you assist?" Olivia looked at her tactical officer. "Daniel, what's the status of the Krell fleet?" Lieutenant Daniel Harris studied his displays. "They're regrouping, but slowly. The command ship appears to be establishing direct communication with individual vessels rather than using the network. They're adapting, but it's buying us time." Olivia made her decision. "Earth Defense Command will draw their fire while you target their primary vessels. Focus on the command ship if possible." "Roger." At Defiant, good hunting. Olivia turned to her navigator. "Paul, set course back toward the Krell fleet. I want to keep their attention on us and away from Earth." Navigator Paul Rodriguez nodded, though his expression betrayed his concern. "Course laid in, Captain." "All hands battle stations, Olivia," announced shipwide. "We're going back in." The Defiant turned and accelerated toward the Krell Armada once more. Despite its damaged state, the ship responded smoothly to Paul's commands, a testament to its advanced design and construction. As they approached, they could see the Krell fleet still in disarray. Ships moved erratically, some drifting aimlessly while others attempted to form defensive patterns. The massive command ship at the center of the formation seemed to be directing individual vessels through conventional communications, but without the quantum network, coordination was slow and inefficient. "They see us," Daniel reported. "Multiple ships are breaking off to intercept." "Evasive maneuvers," Olivia ordered. "Keep them guessing, but stay close enough to keep their attention." The Defiant danced through space, darting between Krell vessels and forcing them to give chase. Each time, a group of alien ships began to coordinate their attacks. The Defiant would change course unpredictably, disrupting their plans and keeping them off balance. From the planet below, Earth's defense grid came to life. Massive energy beams lanced upward from surface installations, targeting the distracted Krell vessels. The first shots caught the aliens completely by surprise, destroying 3 ships before they could react. "It's working," Lavar observed. "Earth's defenses are making progress while we keep the Krell occupied." But the Krell were quick to adapt. Several ships broke away from the pursuit of the Defiant and turned their weapons toward Earth, preparing to bombard the defense installations. "They're splitting their focus," Daniel warned. "We need to draw more of them away from Earth." Olivia thought quickly. "Samuel, can we generate a low-power quantum pulse? Just enough to disrupt their systems without taking our own offline?" "It's risky," Samuel replied after a moment's consideration. "But I think I can modulate the pulse to create a shorter-range effect. It won't be as powerful, but it might confuse their sensors without completely draining our power." "Do it," Olivia ordered. "Target the ships that are preparing to attack Earth." Samuel and his engineering team worked frantically to reconfigure the quantum resonance drive. Minutes later, the Defiant emitted a focused pulse directed at the Krell vessels threatening Earth. The effect was less dramatic than before, but still effective. The targeted ship's weapons powered down as their systems struggled to compensate for the disruption. Earth's defenses took immediate advantage, concentrating fire on the vulnerable vessels. One after another, the Krell ships exploded or drifted away, crippled beyond recovery. The tide was turning, but the battle was far from over. The Krell command ship, recognizing the threat posed by the Defiant, turned its massive weapons arrays toward the human vessel. "The command ship is targeting U.S., Daniel warned. "Energy buildup detected in their main weapon. Evasive action." Olivia ordered. Paul pushed the Defiant into a steep dive, but they weren't quite fast enough. The edge of the Krell energy beam caught the ship's starboard side, sending it spinning through space. Warning alarms blared across the bridge as systems failed under the impact. "Starboard engines offline," Paul reported, fighting to regain control. "Stabilizers failing." "Reroute emergency power to stabilizers," Olivia commanded. "We need to stay in the fight." The Defiant steadied, but it was clear the ship had taken serious damage. Smoke filled several sections, and emergency bulkheads had sealed off more compromised areas. Despite their damaged state, Olivia saw an opportunity. The command ship had expended significant energy on its attack and appeared to be recharging its main weapon. Meanwhile, Earth's defenses continued to pick off the smaller Krell vessels, reducing the threat to the planet with each passing minute. "We have one shot at this," Olivia said, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. "Daniel, target all remaining weapons on the command ship's main power core. Samuel, divert all available power to weapons." "Captain, that will leave us with minimal shields," Lover warned. "It's a risk we have to take," Olivia replied. "If we can cripple the command ship, the rest of the fleet will fall." The Defiant limped toward the massive Krell vessel, weapons charged and ready. Earth's defense grid seemed to recognize their plan, as multiple surface installations redirected their fire to support the attack, targeting the command ship's defensive systems. "In range," Daniel reported. "Targeting their power core. Fire." "Everything we've got," Olivia ordered. The Defiant unleashed its remaining weapons in a concentrated barrage. At the same moment, beams from Earth's defense grid struck the command ship from multiple angles. The combined assault overwhelmed the alien vessel's defenses, punching through to its vital systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a series of explosions rippled across the command ship's hull. Its organic surface convulsed as internal systems failed catastrophically. A final, massive explosion tore through its central section, breaking the enormous vessel apart. Without their command ship, the remaining Krell vessels fell into complete disarray. Some immediately retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speeds and disappearing from the system. Others continued to fight, but without coordination. They were quickly picked off by Earth's defenses on the bridge of the Defiant. The crew watched in stunned silence as the remnants of the Krell Armada scattered before them. They had done the impossible. A single ship had faced an alien armada and won. "Stand down from battle stations," Olivia ordered, her voice thick with emotion. Maria, contact Earth Defense Command. Tell them the Krell fleet is in retreat. As the adrenaline of battle faded, the crew of the Defiant began to realize what they had accomplished. Against overwhelming odds, they had saved their planet. The experimental ship and its brave crew had written themselves into history. "Take us home, Paul," Olivia said quietly. "Let's go home." The damaged but victorious USS Defiant turned toward Earth, its mission complete. Behind it, the stars shone peacefully where an alien armada had once threatened humanity's existence. A single ship had made the difference between extinction and survival, proving that courage, ingenuity, and determination could overcome even the most impossible odds.